This video and other social media posts are for religious educational purposes only. No one involved in the social media pages or multimedia messages are lawyers, and nothing in this, or any other message or social media post, is to be taken as legal advice.
Alaram Bal Jate Vartora Narvode. That is in the traditional Mandoa. In English, we say, welcome and good morning, my brothers and sisters. I am Udesla Jorir. I am the co-founder of the Way of The Mandalore Religious Movement. We are a registered domestic nonprofit in the state of Ohio and a legal 501c3 private charity. We haven't produced a video here in a while due to other projects, so we thank you for your patience and your understanding. Welcome once again to the sermon messages for the Way of the Mandalore Religious Movement. We sincerely hope that this video helps you to learn more about us and what we believe. In our previous sermon message series, we briefly explained the 12 core tenets of the Way and how to apply them in our daily lives. Rest assured, we will be expanding on them all in more detail in future videos. But in this video, we're shifting tone a little bit, and we'll be addressing some of the more frequently asked questions regarding our religion and its practical applications in the real world that have cropped up in the past few years. Mandalorian FAQ Part 1. Now we're going to start with a big one. This is probably the most frequently asked question asked within the community. Can I be both a Mandalorian and a member of another religion such as Christianity or Norse paganism? These two examples are probably the most frequently mentioned religious beliefs asked about in this context. The simple answer is no. But to expand on it, if you wish to be a keeper of the Way, that is to say that you are a member of the Mandalorian religion, then that is your religion. You keep the tenets to the best of your individual ability, and you live your life in such a way that you apply the principles of those tenets to every situation in your daily life. Now that said, there are numerous beliefs and philosophies that are outside the Way that one could also adhere to without violating the Way. And these are largely left to the individual. One could, for example, follow the direct teachings of Yeshua, as recorded in the New Testament Gospels, or follow certain aspects of Norse pagan writings, provided, of course, that they do not violate the core tenets of the Way. That is not to suggest that any form of hybridization or a cherry picking is encouraged in regards to the Way. The 12 core tenets are clear in their meanings, and to attempt to reconcile them with contradictory beliefs from outside would be both disingenuous and dishonest. Rather, this is meant to say that one can follow the specific teachings of certain religious figures and keep the Way. But there are numerous religious sects that hold other beliefs that are not compatible with the Way. For example, certain religious sects among Islam, Christianity, and Judaism condemn, even to the point of execution, homosexuality and still actively practice arranged or child marriages and see women as inferior or as property. And there are still others that teach that a survivor of sexual assault is guilty of adultery and should therefore be put to death. And other religious sects will hold beliefs regarding racial division. These are some of the major issues that some religious groups will hold as part of their doctrine, and they are in direct opposition to the core tenets of the Way. And as such, you cannot hold these beliefs if you wish to be a keeper of the Way. To be fair, it is a fine line to walk, and it requires a great deal of reading and research. And therefore, in these situations, you will have to make a choice as to which matters to you more: the Way of the Mandalore or the teachings of those specific sects. Those are some of the more social religious issues, but in keeping with this topic, we'll move on to the next question. What does the Way teach regarding the creation of the world, the afterlife, saviors, and prophecy. Similar to the last question, the easy answer to this one is nothing. The Way of the Mandalore is not concerned with the origin of existence, nor the inevitable end of the world or universe. Nor do we have any recognized prophets within our religion. Now, while there are those among us who can and will make certain predictions or suppositions regarding future events based on history and extrapolation of current trends, they are not to be viewed as having any sort of extrasensory abilities or prophetic powers in regards to these matters. Neither do we officially hold any stance regarding any savior that may have come before or may be returning at a later time. Nor do we hold any official doctrine regarding the afterlife or any formal deities. In the fictional lore, the Mandalorians, going back to the Tong, believed in a war of creation and death, and that the afterlife was a place of conflict between stagnation and growth, where warriors would be in constant defense of their families in otherwise peaceful homesteads. This belief later evolved into the concept of an oversoul or gestalt consciousness known as Manda, where all Mandalorians who maintain their cultural practices would exist in communion with others after their death. Does the Way have any prohibitions on any form of medical care involving medications, surgery, transplants, mental health services, transfusions, vaccines, etc.? And yet again, we will have to say that the simple answer is no. Keepers of the Way are free to seek out medical care in the best way they see fit, in keepings with Tenets 6 and 8. There is no prohibition within this religion in terms of medical care or any other practices mentioned, especially in life-threatening or other serious situations. That said, we as Mandalorians are to maintain our bodies and minds to the best of our abilities. Many, not all, medical issues can be reversed or at least controlled through lifestyle and dietary changes. But that doesn't mean that some forms of medical care like medication cannot be used in the meantime. Just as an example, if you have high blood pressure or cholesterol, there is no sin or violation of the Way if you choose to use medication to lower those levels while you also pursue a healthier lifestyle to fix the root cause of the problem. But even with chronic conditions like mental health disorders, anxiety, depression, PTSD, ADHD, schizophrenia, etc., you are not betraying your faith as a keeper of the Way by using appropriate, prescribed, and researched medications to treat these conditions, even in the long term. Like many other aspects of this religion, it is left to the individual to decide what is best for them, and that includes medication and medical care. This is related to the last question. Other religions have prohibitions against certain foods or alcohol and other substances. Does the Way have any dietary or substance restrictions? Again, the answer to this is simply no. A keeper of the Way is permitted to ingest or partake in any food, alcohol, or other substance, provided they maintain their self-control and do not pose a danger to themselves or others. As stated in other previous messages, one must be able to maintain an honest view of themselves and where their struggles lie. And we must be mindful of the possibility of simple use becoming abuse and addiction. This is not a one-size-fits-all situation. Many people can partake of alcohol and other substances and not become dependent or addicted to them, while others cannot. And this is not a failing on the part of those who know their limits or know that they cannot partake at all because they know themselves. This is an important distinction that must be made. We must take our fellow keepers into account when we partake in these things. If just being in the presence of others using alcohol or other substances is a problem for others who are abstaining because they acknowledge they may be tempted to partake to excess, we, personally, must restrict ourselves. This is related to Tenet 10 specifically, as our loyalty to our Voda also means we must not take any part in contributing to the addictions of others. This is not to say that we, as keepers, must be wholly responsible for everyone around us. Nor does it mean that we have to completely abstain from such things. Only that we do not go out of our way to engage in such activities or use substances in the presence of others who might therefore succumb to their addictions if they have made it known that it would be a problem for them. Provided, of course, they are not projecting their own struggles upon others, and they are not using it as a form of victimizing themselves or absolving themselves of their own personal responsibilities. This is also not to say, and we all know people like this, that anyone and everyone who plays at or takes the victimhood mindset is to be coddled or pandered to. At some point, we must all take responsibility for our own actions. And while we should be able to count on our Voda to help us along the way, we must not place undue blame upon others should we stumble. This also needs to be said. There is no weakness or failing among people who struggle with addiction who are actively doing their best to defeat this enemy. And they must not be treated as somehow less than others who don't have the same struggles. We must, as the 10th tenet guides us, support and encourage others who may have these issues. And we must do what we can to help them on their path to recovery. If this means not drinking around a brother or sister who has a problem with alcohol and has made it known that it makes them uncomfortable, that's a small sacrifice to make for the good of our brothers or sisters. Voda on, brothers and sisters all. In context here, it means that we must do what we can to support our fellow keepers who may be struggling, and should therefore be mindful in our actions at all times. With that, in the interest of time, we will end our first video in our sermon message series regarding the frequently asked questions about the Way of the Mandalore as a religion. Please join us for our next video message where we will continue this issue regarding our faith. We are still accepting questions, so please submit them here in the comments section or in any of our various social media platforms. You can use this QR code to take you to all of our social media all in one place. We thank you for your continued support as we seek to spread the way to those who will hear it. Until next time, Vore, Vorentie, Manduare, Balkir, Muruchik, Ibik Runi. Thank you, brothers and sisters, and be safe. This is the way.